Good morning, everyone. My name is Ken Smith. I'm the National Sales Trainer with Messer Financial. First of all, I want to thank you for joining us for this webinar this morning. And this webinar, the process for it really started a year ago when I was speaking at Messer Financial's Top Agent Summit. During the summit, I spoke with a number of you, and we talked quite a bit about packaging hospital indemnity plans together with Medicare Advantage plans. And this is really going to be a two-part webinar series. This morning, I'm going to talk about the need and the sales process with including a hospital indemnity plan together with the Med Advantage plan. And tomorrow, we're going to take a couple products, a couple hospital indemnity products, and we're going to walk through those and show how they fit and how to work with those products. One of the things, I've worked with agents, I've been doing this for 40 years, and I've worked with agents over the years. And one of the most important things is customer retention. And especially for those of us in the Med Sup market, the Med Advantage market, the renewals and customer retention is really where we build our income. And this is a 5-year customer retention. If you have one policy in place in a household, the chances are 35% that you'll retain that customer over a 5-year period. If you have 2 policies, it goes to 56%, and 3 policies, it goes to 92%. And one of the things that I really want to set the stage for you is that once you get through AEP, it's important to go back and talk with your members about final expense plans. You know, there's a problem. Last year, 210,000 people went to the hardware store to buy drills. How many of those people wanted drills? Absolutely no one went there to buy a drill. What they did was they had a problem, and that was the fact that they needed a hole. And the way they solved that problem was by buying the drill. You know, it's really interesting because stop and think about this. No one wants to buy insurance. The only reason they buy insurance is to solve a problem. They buy a Med Sup or a Med Advantage plan because they don't want to go broke due to an illness. You know, and the most important thing that we can understand is we have to take the attitude of being a problem solver for our members. And I will tell you, you know, my attitude, once I started looking at what I do as a problem solver, my attitude toward the business totally changed. It really gives a different perspective. And what I want to talk about this morning is, you know, everyone on this call does a good job solving the problems, but there's a piece that's missing. Now, Bobby, if I could have you put up the polling question. Okay, I'm going to ask you to take a minute to answer the question, the polling question. While you're filling that out, I want to share a story with you. Peter Rosengard is a life insurance salesperson in England. Peter held the record for 20 years for the largest life insurance policy being sold. It was in the Guinness Book of World Records. And the story behind it is really interesting. And MCA Universal bought David Geffen's record company. And the reason, and they paid $500 million for it. And the reason they bought it was because David Geffen was so great working with artists. He worked with all the top artists in the 80s and the 90s. And what Peter did was he worked hard to get a call through to the president of MCA Universal. And he got him on the phone, congratulated him for the purchase, and then said, you know, one of the key reasons you bought the company was to get David Geffen. He said, I have a question for you. What would happen to the value of the purchase if David Geffen's walking across the street, gets hit by a truck, and gets killed? And the president of MCA Universal asked him, how much would $100 million of life insurance cost? And Geffen, gave him an approximate. He said, my assistant will call you tomorrow, set up a time to get together. 4 weeks after that, he sold a policy. The board of directors approved it, and he had a $100 million sale. Now, the reason I mention this story is because he took the problem solving down to the simplest equation. If anything happened to David Geffen, it was going to kill the value of the purchase. And again, what we do is we solve problems. Okay, we can close the poll now. Here's the thing: 84% of everyone on this call is not selling a hospital indemnity together with a Medicare Advantage. Here's the problem: is when you look at Medicare Advantage plans throughout the U.S., the average maximum out of pocket is $5,100. Now, my question for you is, how many of your clients, how many members can write a check for that amount? The zero premium Medicare Advantage plans are absolutely great. But, when I talk about MedSup and Medicare Advantage plans, the Medicare supplement you pay up front. The Medicare Advantage plan you pay on the back end. And there's a problem there. How many of your members can write a check for $5,100? It's really simple. And I love Medicare Advantage plans, but it was interesting. I saw an article a few weeks ago that laid out the comparisons with MedSup and Medicare Advantage. And the article said Medicare Advantage plans are great, but you better have a savings account to go with it. I'm here to say that you don't need to have the savings account. That $5,100 is a problem. And what we're going to do today is talk about the solution that goes with it. Now, one thing, keep in mind that hospital indemnity plans are included within the scope of appointment for Medicare. And one of the things I really want to start changing is forget, when you're talking with a prospect, forget the words hospital indemnity. It's really important to change your language. When you start talking, because no one knows what a hospital indemnity plan, but if you start talking about a hospital benefit for your clients and members, it really makes a difference. And here's one of the keys. The key is the presentation I'm going to walk through today is really simple. And what the key becomes is, people don't buy when they're confused. One of the things that left an impression on me, some of you on this call may remember Bum Phillips. He coached the Houston Oilers and the New Orleans Saints back in the 1980s. And there was a reporter that asked him a question that says, you know, these other NFL teams seem to have larger playbooks than what you have. And Phillips said to the reporter, he said, you can't win games if you're confused. You know, when you present a hospital benefit with a Medicare Advantage plan, it's one presentation, not two. And I'm gonna show you how that goes together. Because the key is we're problem solvers, and you're using you're solving the same problem with the Medicare Advantage and a hospital indemnity. But you present the solution as a solution to the same problem. And I want to show you how simple this is. It really doesn't get much more simple than this. You know, and I'm using an Aetna plan. I'm in Nebraska, and I'm using an Aetna plan. You know, your hospital, when you're going through the summary of coverage, your hospital copayment is $390 a day for days 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I count those days to be a little bit dramatic and drive the point home. But here's what you say when you put the hospital benefit in with this. We have an option of adding a hospital benefit that will cover most or all of your costs if you're hospitalized. We can look at that later, okay? And it's as simple as that. Just use those words. And then when you get to the summary of coverage and you have the ambulance, you know, you have a copay of $260. And then I'm going to tell them that's included with the hospital benefit. It is really simple. And then when I get done, generally in the sales process, you already have agreement on the Medicare Advantage plan and the direction you're going with that. So after you go through that summary of coverage, what you're going to do is present 3 options. You have the Medicare Advantage by itself is option number 1. Option number 2 is the Medicare Advantage with the hospital benefit or the hospital and ambulance. And then number 3 is the Medicare Advantage with the hospital benefit that includes the hospital and the ambulance and a $5,000 cancer benefit. And you know, one of the reasons I think the cancer benefit is important, that's just my personal feeling, and a lot of it's because I have seen the difference that cancer plans have made for people over the years. I know a lot of plans, if I understand correctly, you know, there's a 20% copay for chemo and radiation up to the maximum out of pocket. And there's also a lot of indirect costs that are not covered by health insurance that go along when someone is diagnosed with cancer. So I like to include that in there. And here's the thing. You've given your prospect 3 options. And I can tell you in each case, in 60% of the situations, they're going to choose the middle option. You're going to get someone to choose the high-end option occasionally. But see, the thing is, we've got a problem. Your member has a problem. And basically what you've done is give them 3 solutions. And people are so used to picking packages that it really is simple. I mean, think about this. It's kind of like the fast food chains have picked up on this. And that's, you know, you go, if you walk, next time you walk into McDonald's, you know, look at the menu that's up. Basically, you've got the item together with fries and a drink, and you pick 1, 2, or 3, and it's a lot the same with this. One of the things I think that is so important in sales is giving our prospect options. One of the things that for me really drives this home. Options are what I call one of the basic sales principles. And when you give options to your client, if you only give them one choice, you're going to get a yes, no answer. But if you give them options, this one or that one, you're giving them yes choices, and it makes it so much easier to really close the sale. And I like three options, and I use it. If you see my my life presentation or my final expense presentation, it's always 3 options, because in most cases they will pick the option in the middle. Bobby, let's put up the second polling question now. I want you to take a minute and answer this question. Bobby, what do we have for results at this point?
So we got 96% yes and 4% no.
Okay, so that's the basic sales principle. This is not complicated. It's easy. All you have to do, I'm going to give you the secret to closing more sales in a minute, but I want to talk about everybody's favorite radio station. WIIT FM, and that stands for What's in It for Me. 2 things that are going to happen is, number one, you're going to have a satisfied member. Okay, you're going to have a member that stays with you when you package and give them the option of taking a hospital indemnity, hospital benefit together with their Medicare Advantage plan. The second thing is that you are going to make more than a couple $100 additional per sale with including the hospital indemnity plan. So you're going to have a much more satisfied member, and at the same time, you're going to make more money doing it. And the basis behind this is selling is 98% understanding human beings and 2% product knowledge. And with the way we've laid this out with solving the problem, that is understanding human beings. The challenge is, W. Clement Stone said this, and W. Clement Stone, if you've never heard of him, he started with combined insurance with $100 in 1920 and built it to a $1 billion company by the late 70s. He said sales are contingent on the attitude of the salesperson, not the product, not the prospect. So one of the things is we have to have the attitude that we are making a difference. We are solving a problem for our clients. And if you go into every sale with that attitude, you will be successful. One of the things is, let's open it up for questions. Like I said, this is simple. If you want to go through the process, or you want somebody to practice, you want someone to practice on, or have questions, Bobby will take questions now. But if if you want to practice, you can contact me. I'll walk through the process with you. And tomorrow, one of the other things that we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to go through 2 products. And one of the things as a salesperson that I like to do is really dive in and understand the underwriting that goes along with it. Now, the underwriting is simple, but you're going to have situations that come up, and I want to work through those with you tomorrow. But this is probably the easiest sale that you'll ever make. It's so easy to include the hospital benefit, hospital indemnity together with the Medicare Advantage. Bobby, can you tell if we have any questions?
Yeah, we do have a couple.
Good.
So Steve is wondering, where's the wording on the scope giving permission to sell an ancillary plan?
Most of the ones I've seen have hospital indemnity included on the scope.
Okay. Chuck is wondering, does the same logic apply to short-term health and ACA as it does towards MAPD?
If we get, I'm not sure what he means. You mean with packaging products together?
I'm going to assume that is what he means.
Okay. Yes. That's a definite and yes. And Chuck, if you want to talk about packaging, let me get my contact information up here. Send me an email or call me, and we can kind of talk through that. I'll be glad to go through that with you.
And then William's wondering, can this be presented at the same time as Medicare enrollment?
Yes. Any other questions?
So Steve's also wondering if he can also present a life insurance plan too at the same time.
My understanding is that you can. I would check with compliance on that, but my understanding is that you cannot present the life insurance at the same time. Now, you can go back later on and present the life insurance.
Okay.
And I think it makes so much sense to, once you get through AEP, call your members, check on how they're doing, see if they have any questions, and then I would bring up life insurance, in that same conversation, and it's one where it just, have you made I always, and I've got lots of good questions. Have you made arrangements, to take care of your funeral and other final expenses? And that leads into a quick, that question leads into a discussion of final expense.
Okay. And Jeffrey was wondering what companies offer these. Do we want to jump into that today? I know you have carrier specifics.
Actually, yeah. Messer Financial Group has a number of companies that we work with that have hospital indemnity plans. I'm going to take tomorrow. I'm going to take 2 and go through those plans in detail.
Okay. So Jeffrey, just sign up for tomorrow's webinar. You can do that on our website.
We'll get through that. And again, if you have any questions, please email me, call me. I'm here to work with you to start solving. You're doing a good job of solving problems.
Looks like we got a couple more, Ken. Is the premium based on age?
Yes. And
are there any specific hospital indemnities that you sell personally that you would recommend?
Two that I like are I like Aetna's, and and part of it's Aetna's been around for so long, they've been so consistent in the marketplace, and then the other one is Medico, and then there's a couple of the other ones that Messer has is SureBridge and GTL.
And Sharon's wondering, if an insured needs to file a claim, what happens? Do they need to file it themselves by submitting copies of bills, et cetera, to the insurer?
That's a good question, and we'll get into all that. We'll get into all that tomorrow.
Okay.
That's a good teaser to come back and go through that one tomorrow.
Okay.
Otherwise, Sharon can call me directly.
Gotcha. Give me one sec, just run through a couple more. Best companies for plans, you said Aetna and.
I like Aetna, I like Medico. You know, there's a GTL, SureBridge. You know, there's a number of companies out there that are good, solid, have good, solid hospital indemnity plans. Well, and one of the things, the reason I'm going through, I'll mention this, the reason I'm going to go through two plans, just two plans, is, you know, it's so important with this, especially if you're just entering the market. Remember my statement about not being confused? I would take two plans, understand the ins and outs of the two plans and their underwriting, and not worry about any other plans.
Another question, is there any pre-existing conditions or medical history that could deny you?
Yes, there is limited underwriting. That's one of the reasons why I like to have two plans, and that's one of the things that I really want to touch on in a little bit more detail in tomorrow's webinar. So we got great questions. It sounds like Bobby. It sounds like everyone's ready for the webinar tomorrow now.
Yeah, it looks like they're ready to dive into all the details.
Right.
All right, so that wraps up the questions too, Ken.
Okay, great.
At least the ones that you won't answer tomorrow.
Okay, yeah. Like I said, I have a teaser. If that's the teaser, you know, I would hope that most of you see the need for this. See how easy it is to include as part of your Medicare Advantage sales. And I want to thank you and encourage you to join us tomorrow as we get into the details with a couple products. If you have any questions, it's 704-568-9649, and my extension is 7780, or email me, and it's ksmith@messerfinancial.com. And again, thank you. Have a great day.